Bravo bosses. This is the Bravo Investigator Podcast. I'm your host, Dana. And today on our Monday Reality Roundup, we are talking about Summer House, Vanderpump Rules / The Valley, Love is Blind, The Real Housewives of New Jersey / Real Housewives of New York, and The Real Housewives of Rhode Island. Let's get into it. Monday, everyone. I hope everyone's had a great weekend and a great week. It is super hot here in Toronto and I'm sweating my balls off, but it is a long weekend here in Ontario. So I'm really excited about that. I have really just been enjoying, relaxing, just having a great old time. But something this weekend did happen that was kind of shitty, which is that I actually have already recorded this episode. I recorded it yesterday with my friend Caitlin Marshall from Besties by Caitlin. She also has a new podcast called Retired Party Girls, which is an awesome new podcast. And somehow I forgot to hit record and we recorded for an hour and I feel so stupid and so bad because it was such a great episode. I will have Caitlin back on with her podcast partner, Tessa Scott, sometime soon because you guys just have to check out Retired Party Girls. It's such a fun time, but I feel like such an idiot. And then today I was like, you know what? I've got nothing else to do. It's a long weekend. I'm going to re-record the episode. So here I am and happy Monday. And that is why you're getting this episode a little bit late. It sort of felt weird to re-record it on Sunday right after I had recorded it. And I was already just feeling so down in the dumps for just being such an idiot for not pressing literally the record button. Oh, man. So I woke up today on Monday and figured, you know what? I'm going to just give the BBs what they deserve because we haven't had like a true reality roundup in a couple of weeks. Last week, we did a reality roundup that was just the Summer House sillies. It was like all the Jen Fessler stuff and all of that. And the week before, we did an episode of Be True Hollywood Story, Amanda Petula. So today is a true, genuine version of the reality roundup. And to my new listeners and new followers, I'll just give you an idea of what you can expect here on the podcast. So on Mondays, you get reality roundups, and that is basically all the news that's going on in the reality TV sphere, not just Bravo. We also do, like I mentioned today, we're doing Love is Blind. We'll do Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. We'll do Teen Mom. So try to cover all of the news categories that cover whatever's going on in the reality TV sphere. And then on Tuesdays, I am doing a collaboration with Iannou Firestone from the Pop Therapy podcast. And we are recapping The Real Housewives of Rhode Island for the entire season. And that's been really fun. And then on Wednesdays, I am recapping Summer House. And I usually include Watch What Happens Live or whatever other news items might have come out since Monday with regards to Summer House because it is constantly coming. Summer House is ending this week, though, obviously. But that being said, there are still 3 more weeks of the reunion. And then I think I will also be covering In the City, and I'll just be doing for the next few weeks In the City and Summer House, and then just In the City. I might also be covering Love Island. I'm still just trying to figure that out because that comes back on June 1st or 2nd. So I definitely want to make sure I'm tapped into that as well, which is a huge commitment, you guys. That's a 5-day-a-week commitment, which I'm happy to commit to. I truly am. And then on Fridays, I have a whole other podcast, but you can listen to it on this podcast feed as well. It's called All You Need Is You, and it is basically a guide to living your best solo life. So I have been single for almost 2 decades now and been living alone, and I have found a way to really cultivate a life that I truly enjoy. So the podcast All You Need Is You is a way to give people like tips and tricks and tell stories and do interviews about living your best solo life. So you can check that out every Friday on the Bravo Investigator podcast feed, but All You Need Is You also has its own podcast feed. So you can check that out on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. I've linked it in the show notes. So it would actually be really helpful if you guys could go and follow the show on its own podcast feed and download it from its own podcast feed because I'm trying to grow the show there. I've put it on the Bravo Investigator podcast feed as well because this is where my listeners are. This is where the audience is, and I'm trying to grow the show. But in order to grow the show on its own for All You Need Is You, I really need you guys to head over to that podcast feed, follow the show, and when you're listening to those episodes, download it from there. That would be really, really helpful to me. I would really, really appreciate it. And so that's what you can expect here on the Bravo Investigator podcast. Most episodes are on YouTube. I do have the occasional episode, like when I do my Friday episodes, which is a whole separate podcast, or sometimes when I feel like my skin is bad, or when I'm doing an episode of Be True Hollywood Story, which are my deep dives on Bravo Labs. Those episodes are audio only, and I will alert you guys when they are. But even if they're audio only, you can still watch the audio version on YouTube if you so wish to do so. So let's get into our topics for today because, you know, we might as well. We are halfway through Monday already, and I can't keep you guys waiting any longer. So with regards to Summer House, this is obviously something that we are capturing now, like on a every other day sort of basis. So we don't have a lot of new updates on Summer House, but I do have a couple of things to chat about. So since the last time we talked about Summer House, we had heard, and it was from TMZ, that Ciara was planning to come back for Summer House season 11. We heard that she was planning to do Love Island, then Summer House, then Dancing with the Stars. Now, Ciara has come out of the woodwork, as she is wont to do, and she came on Threads and said, "My team would never give TMZ an exclusive, unlike some people's teams. Then TMZ doesn't know shit about me. Sorry, took a day off." So this could mean that she's referring to the fact that they said that she's coming back for Summer House season 11. I hope she is coming back. I know that she's booked and busy. And I believe that Love Island films until like mid July, and Summer House starts filming like July 4th, right? Which is crazy. That's like 6 weeks from now. So it's wild to think about the fact that that's actually happening so incredibly soon. But regardless, you know, I would love to see her back. And it is something she said that she would do. I think it was in one of the press interviews that she did where she was like, you know, if they're going to be in love or whatever, I'm not going to stop them and I'm not going to not film. But we also don't know who is filming next year. Oh my God. We don't know who's filming in 6 weeks from now anyways, right? We don't know if West is. We don't know if Amanda is. It really is, in my opinion, going to come all down to the reunion / what the Bravo fans think. Not that Bravo ever really listens to us, but I just sort of feel like, you know, I feel like depending on what happens at the reunion and if people are able to be forgiven, that's what's really going to end up becoming dependent on what happens here. I feel like, you know, Amanda and what's his name? Kyle aren't even supposed to be on Summer House anymore, right? They're supposed to be on In the City, but they're no longer together. So does that mean Kyle goes back to Summer House? Does that mean Amanda goes back to Summer House? Is Wes going to be on that new Ozark show? I heard that whole thing is kind of dead in the water. So who really knows? But I really do think it's going to come all down to the reunion because we're going to need to figure out who we can forgive, who we can't, and who we truly want to come back. But I hope Ciara does come back. I do kind of want to see the fallout of this, / she deserves to come back, right? Like she's not the one who did anything wrong here. So why should she have to be the one to leave? So I hope she does come back. And if it means she's only like a couple of weeks late for Summer House, because if Love Island films till mid-July, that would mean if she films Summer House, she might be a couple of weeks late, but that's okay. I mean, I'd be fine with it. I just really want to see her back. And then in some other Summer House / In the City news, Danielle Olivera is pregnant. So we know that she has a boyfriend and that this boyfriend will be on In the City with her. And congratulations to Danielle. But what's interesting is that the Bravo fandom does not seem to be that happy for Danielle, and I feel a little bit bad for her. People are sort of coming at it like, well, remember all the things that you said about Lindsay, like, look at you, I don't want to see you single momming it up. But in my opinion, I mean, Danielle isn't really going to be single momming it up. She is with a partner, right? She's been with this guy for over a year, and people were sort of coming at her like, look at the way that you said to Lindsay, like you just started dating this guy. But again, Danielle's been with this guy for a while. Now, the biggest issue with this guy, allegedly, is that he is still married and has a full-on wife. Now, people have done their deep dives and have been unable to find any divorce paperwork, but have been unable to find any marriage paperwork either. So that's kind of interesting. But we don't know how Danielle and the guy met. There are rumors that they met and there was some sort of overlap. But regardless, he's not with the woman now. So I think it's okay to be happy for Danielle. And while Danielle is a cringe character, I kind of love cringe when it comes to reality TV, right? We love a Delulu TV character. I don't know why people hated on her so much, to be honest. Like, it was so cringy when she called herself the CEO and founder. But at the same time, we love cringe, right? Cringe is what gives good reality TV. So I'm all here for it. I'm all here for seeing Danielle again back on our TVs. I want to see her fight it out with Lindsay. And I kind of like to see her go through her pregnancy, right? Like, what's wrong with that? And at the end of the day, Danielle really wants a child. So I feel like we should be happy for her. Let's be happy for the CEO and founder. Okay, let's move on to some Vanderpump Rules / The Valley news. And we'll start with Lala and Katie because Lala has been coming out of the woodwork quite a bit lately and talking on her podcast about her relationship with Katie. So she's mentioned on a couple of episodes now that she sent Katie a text about a year ago, not expecting her to respond, and basically apologizing for the way that she acted at the reunion last year. So you might remember that at the season 11 reunion, Lala just really came at Katie very out of pocket about, well, it was mostly about how Katie had allegedly complained to her about Ariana not paying her half of the rent for something about her. And Katie was just sort of really stressed about the whole thing because she felt like Ariana was leaving everything in her hands. And then at the reunion, Katie was like, this was an issue that has been dealt with and is not like a new issue. So it ended up leading to a fight between the two of them, and they basically never spoke again. So Lala is saying now that she tried to work on that in therapy and that she kept kind of circling the drain about the fact that what she felt like Katie was saying at the reunion was not the way that it happened, and she couldn't sort of let go of that. And then her therapist taught her how to let go of that and said, like, I don't really feel like you should reach out to her or contact her until you can truly let go of circling the drain about like what truly happened and when you can fully accept if she doesn't want to respond to you. So Katie didn't end up responding to her, but Lala has said a couple of times now that she really misses that friendship. She felt very safe in that friendship. She regrets what she did in that friendship. She regrets the way she acted at the reunion. She's cried about it a bit. And so now Katie has responded on her podcast disrespectfully, and rightfully so, because like I said, Lala has been speaking about this quite a bit. And I do kind of wonder if the reason that Lala decided to start speaking about this is to try to get Katie's attention. Now, she obviously did get Katie's attention, but maybe not in the way that she wanted. Maybe she was expecting that if she kind of kept talking about this, Katie would be like, oh, well, she really cares about me, so maybe I'll consider coming back into that friendship. But that's not really what happened here. So this is what Katie said on Disrespectfully. So she said, I've moved on from my divorce from Tom, but Lala's moving weird with that stuff. Like the joking of being with Tom and even seeing stuff on the Valley of like constantly joking about hooking up with him. And they had like a peck in the pool or something. It's just, I don't know. It just seems weird. Like you're going to cry about our friendship, but then do the very thing that you did when you first came onto the show that made me hate you and was trying to make me feel insecure, more insecure in my relationship than I already was. Now you're kind of acting it out. You're letting it play out, which is just feels weird. It just feels weird. It just feels like she moves funny. I think Katie is totally valid here. I mean, like she said, a lot of the reasons that she didn't like Lala in the first place was the way that Lala was acting towards Tom Schwartz earlier on. And another thing that Katie mentioned on the podcast was, it wasn't just the reunion. It's the way that Lala has sort of moved over and over again over time. But when it comes to the reunion, she was really put off by that because she was just at Lala's house a few days before celebrating Ocean's birthday. And then she just had Lala come at her so out of pocket like that at the reunion to the point where it literally ended their friendship. So for her, it was more so this was the last straw as opposed to this was like the only thing. While Lala was sort of acting like, oh, it was just the reunion. It was just the reunion. But Katie's making it very clear that like even just the way you're acting with Tom Schwartz just shows you move funny. You've always moved funny. And it just makes her uncomfortable, right? Now, it does seem like Lala has been doing a lot of therapy in terms of trying to get to the place that she's been at. And that's amazing. And that's great. But sometimes it can just be too late to repair a friendship. I think it's great that Lala feels that she wants to apologize. I feel like she's never been really good at that. She's never been great at taking accountability or admitting her wrongs. And even though it's like years later at this point, it is something. But at the end of the day, you can't force someone to forgive you. And sometimes friendships just aren't meant to be. And sometimes just too much time has passed for there to be a repair. So it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, Katie has a great life now with a lot of great friends. Lala has her Orca circle with her family and stuff, and maybe that's just what's meant to be. Now, Lala is doing a lot lately, right? She is coming out of the woodwork on the Valley as well. She is putting Danny in his place. And she was on Watch What Happens Live last week with Nick Lachey. And she said that she thinks that Nia should leave Danny. Now, I thought this was really interesting because of the way that Danny was acting in the last episode of The Valley. People are so against him now, which I think is hilarious considering I was telling you guys this last year. This is like not a great guy. He does not treat his wife super well, and I'm not about it. But I don't think Nia's ever going to leave Danny. I really don't. They have 4 kids together. Not that that should stop someone, but like, I think that she's very, very committed, and him too, to always working on their marriage and always trying to make it better. I truly just don't think she will ever pick up and leave him. But the balls that Lala does have to say these things is giving me life in a sense. Like, nobody wanted her back on the Valley. Nobody wanted to see this, but she is moving story, and she is kind of, what's the word? She's giving that chaotic energy, right? Where she's saying things that are out of pocket, that are not her place to say, but I'm here for it, right? Like, I'm here for it. So yeah, I do think that Nia should leave Danny, but I don't think it'll ever happen. Apparently they talked about it on their podcast, Hold My Crown, last week, which I didn't listen to. And, they're still working on it, and they're working on their marriage. And this has been like kind of a hard time for them in their marriage, which everybody goes through, right? And it's totally fair. But I don't know. There's just something very controlling about the way he speaks to her on camera, of all things, right? And like Lala said, like, if this is how you speak to her on camera, like, I can't imagine how you speak to her off camera. So I don't know. I did a deep dive Be True Hollywood story on Nia, so you guys should definitely go take a listen to that because I do a little bit more of a deep dive into their relationship, which is kind of interesting. So highly recommend. But yeah, I don't think Nia is leaving Danny anytime soon, even though she should. And the last Lala story is Lala versus Mauricio Umansky. So apparently Lala was talking on her podcast about how she got this DM from Mauricio. It was around the time that things were super contentious with Kyle and Mauricio out in the media, and Lala was talking about it on her podcast. Now, TMZ approached Mauricio about this and said, like, hey, how do you feel about like Lala talking about you on her podcast? And he just kind of like lost his mind to TMZ, and he was just like, she's such an asshole. Like, he didn't use that word, but he's like, no, this is like complete bullshit. I was not hitting on her whatsoever. She is so full of shit. It was just very aggressive the way that he was speaking. And then he was also saying that, like, she said on her podcast that the last part of the message was me asking her to go for coffee. How would she know that that was the last part of the message? Because she allegedly said she didn't read the message. How would she know that that was the last part of the message unless she read the message and this whole thing? So he then says, okay, I'm going to release the message, which for a 50-something-year-old man, like, this is just getting very juvenile, but okay. So here is the DM. This is February 24th, 2024. So Mauricio says, hey, Lala, how are you? Hey, I'm wondering, since you seem to have an opinion and speculations about me as to whether I am a player or not, I would like to talk to you. Let me know if you are up for that, by phone or happy to get a coffee. So I don't know. To me, that comes off kind of aggressive to be like, you seem to have some speculations about me, so I'd like to talk to you. I mean, Lala is a podcaster like the rest of us, right? We are all out there on our platforms talking about what's going on in the Bravo sphere. And we don't have Mauricio messaging all of us to be like, hey, I'd like to talk to you about what you're saying about me. Like, that's very weird. If I got a message like this, I would be very put off, and I would treat it as like kind of aggressive from him, to be quite honest, because like, why are you bothering me? Why are you coming out of the woodwork? And quite honestly, like, he's taking this as like Lala was telling the world that he was hitting on her. But that's not really the way I took it from how Lala was describing it on her podcast. She was more just describing it like, hey, I got this really weird message from Mauricio. Now, here's the thing about Mauricio. Like, we used to love Mauricio, right? And ever since he separated from Kyle, I have the ick for this man now. Like from Dancing with the Stars to being seen with all of these young women to being so like emotionally checked out when Kyle talks to him on the show to just having all of these like interactions with other Bravo Lebs to this very aggressive encounter with Lala. And to defend Lala is just like so out of my realm of like who I am. But at the end of the day, right, I just feel like Mauricio is someone who sort of fell from grace a bit. Him and Kyle were like this quintessential couple that we all aspired to be like. We thought he was the greatest man, the greatest father, the greatest everything. And now he just gives me like cringe, ooh energy. The way he speaks to women, the way he's gallivanting around with all of these young girls. I don't know. I'm just so icked out by Mauricio now. And quite frankly, he shouldn't even really have a voice in the Bravo sphere right now. He's not on any show, despite the fact that he is on every show. Like, it is weird that he is showing up on Potomac and the Valley Persian Style or even Beverly Hills, right? Like, he is an ex-husband. He doesn't need to be there anymore. He has not dad talk. So I am done talking about Mauricio or seeing Mauricio around. And I hope he just sort of leaves the Bravo sphere because, again, I'm icked out. Okay, let's move on to Love is Blind because we have had another couple bite the dust. So this time it is Chelsea and Kwame. I do not recall exactly what season they were from, but I did really like them that season. It did come off while watching that season that Kwame was not interested in Chelsea at all. It really seemed like he was super uncomfortable the whole time. And so I was really surprised when they decided to choose each other and get married. That being said, I remember him doing press after the fact and saying, oh, I was just so put off by the cameras. The cameras made me so uncomfortable. And that's why I was acting the way I was. So I was like, all right. And, they ended up being married for 4 years. Then a couple of weeks ago, we did hear speculation that they had split. Then they posted a picture together to be like, oh, what are all these rumors about? This is all coming out of nowhere. But then a couple of days ago, they announced their split. So I'm going to read each of their statements, which are each pretty long. And I kind of wish they had done a joint statement like West and Amanda, just so it would be a little easier on us. But I will read these both to you. So this one is from Chelsea. So she says, last week would have marked our 4th wedding anniversary. Out of respect for the life we shared, I wanted to address this moment directly with the community that has supported us over the years. It's heartbreaking to share that our marriage is coming to an end. This is not the outcome I hoped for, and I entered this relationship with deep love, commitment, and the intention of building a lasting life together. As time went on, it became clear that we were growing in different directions. I poured my whole heart into this marriage and wanted it to work until the very end, but lasting marriage requires more than love alone. I remain grateful for the life, memories, and experiences we shared. I don't believe any chapter of our lives is wasted. Each one shapes us, teaches us, and becomes part of our personal journey. My mantra going forward is that I am strong, I am resilient, and there is so much more ahead of me, just as there was the day that I stepped into the pods. While this chapter is deeply painful, I trust that healing and clarity will come with time. Thank you for the kindness and support you've shown us throughout the years. We kindly ask for privacy and understanding as we navigate this transition. With love, Chelsea. And then this is Kwame's statement. Last week would have been our wedding anniversary. Unfortunately, we're taking this moment to announce that after 4 years together, we're going our separate ways. This isn't something that either of us imagined, and it's been one of the hardest decisions to make. We built a life with memories, laughter, and love that I'll always be grateful for. We will always have respect and care for each other in everything we shared. We're eternally grateful for all the love, support, and purpose we gained during our time together. As difficult as it's been to arrive here, I believe it's in our best interest, considering amongst many other things, that our ultimate life goals didn't feel aligned. Thank you for all of the years of support. Much love to you all, Kwame. So I thought that last little part was kind of interesting where he said that our ultimate life goals were not fully aligned. Something that I really remember during their marriage, during the show, was that she really wanted kids and he wasn't ready yet. And I wonder if that is what happened here because, they're 4 years into their marriage. We know that she wanted kids right away. I remember him saying like, I still want to travel. I still want to do things. And I remember her saying, you can have a baby and strap it to the front of you and then just keep going on your Euro trip. You can still travel. You can still do all the things. So I bet that this was what this is about, where she was like, I want to have kids. It's been 4 years. And he's like, I'm still not ready. But we'll probably never know, obviously, unless they go out there and do some interviews after the fact, which I would be happy to hear. But, it is sad when we have another Love is Blind couple that breaks up. It is a show that I still love regardless. It's not a show that I love because I believe that this is the way that you should find your person and that this is like a true matchmaking endeavor that truly works. I watch it for the drama, for the tea, for the delulu, for all of it, right? But it's still sad when a couple bites the dust. Okay, let's move on to the Real Housewives of New Jersey / the Real Housewives of RHONY news. Because this whole thing, this happened over the past weekend between Bethenny Frankel and Dina Manzo's daughter, Lexi Iannou, is kind of wild. Okay, so basically, here's what happened. So Lexi Iannou, who is Dina Manzo's daughter from the Real Housewives of New Jersey, she has this shoe brand called New. And she apparently gifted a pair of shoes to Bethenny Frankel. So Bethenny Frankel posted a picture of herself in a dress and the shoes, and people apparently were DMing her and asking her, where did you get the shoes? So then she posted a link to a dupe of the shoes and not the actual shoes, and wrote affiliate link, meaning that she would get commission off of people buying the shoes, but not the shoes that Lexi sent her. This is a dupe, right? So Lexi ends up calling her a weirdo and says, I really respected Bethenny. We're both in the Bravo world. She is a female business owner. And I just think she's a weirdo for doing what she did and kind of fucking with my business. Now, she's a young girl, right? So when she says things like that, it's kind of okay. But when you have Bethenny, who's a grown-ass adult, come out of the woodwork and be like, she's a little crybaby and this is just stupid. And it's like, Bethenny, calling her a crybaby is extremely juvenile. And, she is another female business owner. So you could have done her the solid and you could have posted the original shoe. If the shoe was out of stock, you could have posted about that as well and posted where the original shoes could be bought. But posting a dupe and an affiliate link really just ends up getting Bethenny the money for a cheaper version of the shoes, right? And kind of fucks with Lexi's business. So I thought this whole situation was so funny. It kind of blew up over the weekend. But, Bethenny used to be someone that I really respected and enjoyed watching on TV. But over the past few years, she has just become so intolerable, basically. The way that she comes at other people, the eating on camera, all of it is just so annoying and gross. And I just really don't like the way that she never takes any accountability or says sorry or anything. She should have just apologized quickly to Lexi, posted the correct shoe, and be done with it. But the fact that she can't even take that kind of accountability ever is what just really pisses me off about Bethenny. But she will continue to thrive and be big and do all the things that she's doing. And that's probably why she won't change, right? Because maybe in her mind, she feels like the way that I'm acting is working for me. But I just feel like she's lost a lot of respect for people with the way that she acts, in my opinion. Okay, our last topic of today is The Real Housewives of Rhode Island, which is a show that I am enjoying so incredibly much. And as I mentioned to you guys earlier, every Tuesday I'm recapping Real Housewives of Rhode Island with my friend Iannou Firestone from the Pop Therapy podcast. You can listen to it here on the Bravo Investigator podcast or over on Pop Therapy because we're just exchanging the same episode. But, we've seen a lot of contention between Rosie and Kelsey, and we were trying to figure out what this is truly about. We know that Kelsey seems to be upset with Rosie because she did Rosie's hair, but then Rosie never posted it on Instagram. But it seemed like there must be more than that because it really seems like Kelsey has been harboring a lot of resentment towards Rosie, and it's just not clear where that really came from. So Rosie's been doing some press lately, and so has Kelsey. But, Rosie came out and said that some of the issues that she has with Kelsey are the fact that it's her understanding that Kelsey has not been in this relationship with this rich guy that she says that she's in a relationship with for 2 years now. So she was in this 10-year relationship that we know about. She recently ended it on the show. But according to Rosie, and I mentioned this last week in my recap, rumors are that this actually ended 2 years ago. Rosie says that she's actually been living with Billy, her other boyfriend, for the past 2 years. So she was really annoyed by the fact that everyone on the cast was sort of protecting Kelsey and acting like this is a real storyline when in fact she doesn't have any of these things going on, right? So it truly is all a lie. Plus, apparently for the hair thing, she paid Kelsey to do her hair. So because she paid for the service, usually if you're going to post about it, it's because it's an exchange. You do my hair and in exchange, I'll post about it. But if she paid for the hair, then there's really no need to do that exchange. Also, if Kelsey never asked her to do the post, then why would she always necessarily think of doing that unless you're a full-time influencer? It's not something you necessarily think to do. When I got my hair done last, I didn't post about it, right? Because it's just not what I do necessarily. Now, apparently, Kelsey also accused Rosie of being in a lavender marriage, questioned her mental health and her fertility. So, hearing all of that, I did initially really like Kelsey and was a little iffy on Rosie. But now hearing all of this, and listen, we've only heard one side of the story, and we'll need to hear Kelsey's to make a true decision on how we feel about these people. But now I'm kind of Team Rosie, because if you think about it, Kelsey is sort of making up her entire storyline. I love the story. I think it's a super interesting and fascinating story about her being with this guy who has a different girlfriend for half the year. But if that has not been your life for the past 2 years, then you're just sort of making up a life that doesn't exist anymore. You don't get the benefit of like talking about something that doesn't exist anymore for the sake of entertainment, when literally at this point it's just sort of a lie, right? You're just talking about your past and pretending that it's your present. If she were to talk about her real life right now, it sounds like she's in a perfectly healthy relationship with Billy and is living a very normal life, right? She wanted the drama for the show, and the drama was the story that she had with the other guy. But now I just feel like it's all just so fake and phony. And I don't like somebody saying that somebody else is in a lavender marriage. That is absolutely not cool and not okay. And so I don't know. I'm kind of Team Rosie. Like I said, we'll have to hear what Kelsey has to say when she does her own press and stuff like that. But I was just really anti this. But I'm super into this Kelsey, Rosie, slam pig business and all of their fighting, because it really feels like Real Housewives and true. Like, I feel like it does come from somewhere deeper, right? Like, I know these ladies don't know each other super well, but it seems like they have enough of a history where something was going on between them before the show really started, which is what we want. We want these people to have like true relationships with each other where we're not wasting time trying to watch them get to know each other. So it's clear these two have already had contention prior to the show starting, and I can't wait to hear more about it. Okay, you guys, that is the end of the episode for today. I hope that you enjoyed it. You can follow me at The Bravo Investigator on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel so that I can monetize. Join the Facebook page. All of these things are linked in the show notes. And also follow my new show, All You Need Is You. And I love you, BBs. I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at The Bravo Investigator. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and join the Facebook page. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a 5-star review.